It didn't begin with broomsticks or cauldrons. This chilling tale started with a handful of pins. On a muddy track in March 1612, a young woman named Alison Device cursed a peddler who refused her. Within hours, the peddler collapsed, half paralyzed. A sinister ripple spread through the isolated hamlets of Pendle. Before the year was out, 12 people would be accused of witchcraft. 11 would stand trial, and 10 would face the hangman's noose. 4 centuries later, the question still hangs on the wind above Pendle Hill. Did the curse ever truly lift? This isn't just a ghost story. We're here to lay out the evidence, the court rolls, the chilling confessions, and the testimony of a 9-year-old girl who sent her own family to the gallows. We'll delve into a book by a king obsessed with witchcraft, a manual that told England how to condemn a witch. We will follow the trail from that first curse to the final chilling drop on execution day. And as we trace these footsteps, we'll ask why, even now, this piece of history refuses to stay buried. To understand the tragedy, we have to rewind to an England simmering with paranoia, largely fueled by its monarch, King James I. In 1597, he published Daemonologie, a terrifying how-to manual for killing witches. James was convinced that even folk remedies were a pact with Satan. When he took the English throne, his paranoia became law. Local magistrates got the message: find witches. Lancashire's Pendle region was an easy target. It was geographically isolated, still largely Catholic in a Protestant nation, and home to folk healers. To the king, this culture of traditional practice was heresy. To the villagers, it was survival. Into this world stepped 2 impoverished rival families. First, the Demdikes, led by the blind matriarch Old Demdike, her daughter Elizabeth, and grandchildren James, Alison, and Janet. Then there were the Chaddocks, Anne Whittle, or Mother Chaddocks, and her daughter Anne Redfern. Both families survived by begging and trading on a reputation for having the power to bless or curse. Fear was a potent currency, and their simmering feud was about to boil over. The spark came on a blustery day in 1612. A peddler named John Law was traveling near Colne when Alison Device, Old Demortic's granddaughter, asked him for some pins. Pins were common items, but also used in folk magic. For reasons lost to history, Law refused her. Angered, Alison swore at him. Moments later, Law staggered and collapsed, the victim of what we'd now call a stroke. To the terrified villagers who found him, there was only one explanation: witchcraft. Magistrate Roger Noel, influenced by King James's views, began an investigation. He found a community gripped by panic, where every misfortune was now blamed on black magic. Noel questioned Alison, who promptly confessed to bewitching Law, but she didn't stop there. She pointed the finger at her own grandmother, Old Demdike, and implicated the rival Chaddocks clan. Within a week, the 2 matriarchs, Demdike and Chaddocks, were shackled in the dungeons of Lancaster Castle. While the matriarchs were imprisoned, a meeting took place on Good Friday at the Devices' home, Maukin Tower. Prosecutors later dubbed it a witch's Sabbath. Was it a desperate plot to magically free the prisoners from the castle? Or was it simply a party? A wake for the accused fueled by ale and fear? Whatever its true purpose, the authorities treated it as evidence of a conspiracy. This meeting provided the pretext for more arrests. The net widened, doubling the number of accused and transforming a few accusations into a full-blown witch hunt. In the August heat of 1612, 12 accused witches stood trial at the Lancaster Assizes. The legal system was stacked against them. They had no defense counsel, as English law forbade it in felony cases. These terrified, illiterate people had to face the prosecution alone. The evidence was a cocktail of fear and coercion. Confessions were extracted after weeks in freezing cells. But the most shocking element was the testimony of 9-year-old Janet Device. Janet, Old Demdike's granddaughter, was brought into the courtroom and made to stand on a table. With unnerving composure, the child pointed a finger at her own mother, brother, and sister, identifying them as witches. She claimed her sister, Allison, had boasted of killing by curse. The accused had no right to cross-examine her. The word of a child became irrefutable truth. The jury, swayed by her testimony, took less than 2 hours to find 9 people guilty. Old Demdike escaped the gallows only by dying in her cell just days earlier. The next morning, the condemned were carted to Gallows Hill, just outside Lancaster. It was a public spectacle designed to instill fear. The method of execution was brutal. Prisoners climbed a ladder. A noose was looped around their neck, and the ladder was tipped away, leaving them to strangle. Legend says Alison Device uttered one final curse with her dying breath. Then, 10 bodies swung against the sky. Onlookers cheered or wept. Afterward, their clothes were stripped for souvenirs, and pieces of the hangman's rope were sold for a penny, believed to hold magical properties. The state had made its point. The story of the Pendle witches became a sensation. The Wonderful Discovery of Witches in the County of Lancaster, a pamphlet written by the court clerk Thomas Potts, was a bestseller. King James himself cited the case as proof of the threat of witchcraft. The trial set a dangerous legal precedent. Child testimony was now a powerful weapon in witch trials. 79 years later, in Salem, Massachusetts, the Pendle records would serve as a guide, and child testimony would again play a central, tragic role. Back in Lancashire, a darker form of commerce began. Dark tourism was born as visitors paid to tour the castle cells and buy sensationalized pamphlets. Fear, it turned out, sold well. Even today, an unease clings to Pendle Hill. Locals mutter about a curse that if you're born in Pendle, the hill will haul you back. Supernatural anecdotes multiply. Farmers tell of sheep found dead in perfect circles. Hikers report sudden, bone-chilling drops in temperature and the phantom scent of lavender. Guides at Lancaster Castle swear that cell 15, where old Demdike died, has a persistent cold spot. Paranormal investigators leave with drained batteries and audio files containing faint, disembodied whispers, some claiming to hear a child's voice repeating, "They hanged us." A rational mind seeks other explanations. Most supernatural details appeared decades after the trials in sensationalist pamphlets. A child's voice could be an acoustic trick. The cold spot could be a simple draft. Livestock diseases can explain the dead sheep. Yet, even when stripped of its ghosts, the human facts of the Pendle story remain chilling. What's left is the stark truth of a community under pressure turning on its poorest members, and a legal system that used a terrified child to send her own family to their deaths. The real curse of Pendle is the readiness of humanity to seek scapegoats and succumb to paranoia when fear is allowed to fester. That is the most haunting truth of all. I climbed Pendle last autumn. A thick fog rolled in, swallowing the trail and making my phone's compass spin erratically. At the summit, through a break in the mist, I saw that someone had left 5 modern safety pins, arranged in a star pattern on a stone, a quiet echo of Alison Device as fateful request. Feeling a mix of awe and unease, I pocketed one of the pins. 3 days later, my train home broke down just outside Pendle Station. Coincidence? Probably. But as the train finally lurched forward, I found myself instinctively reaching for the small metal pin in my pocket. I still have it. If you want more historical mysteries, subscribe and ring that notification bell. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. Is the Pendle curse real, or just a compelling story? And if you're ever near,